Or what does that mean?
Yeah, yes, exactly. This meeting is being recorded. Excellent.
For the privacy, you got to let people know.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Apologies for the messy backdrop. This is
no apologies needed, man.
Sort of office space. But yeah, thank you so much.
Totally. So talk to me. What are you doing? What are you wanting to do? What do you want to know? You have me for an hour, even longer if we need. I want to help. So
thank you. So I started business. Basically, I'm brand new to headshot photography. I started business kind of mid-April, I guess. I started advertising mid-April, and I did probably what everyone does and just started a Google ad and some Facebook and some Instagram ads without much sense of what I was doing. I chucked just under 500 quid at it, and I got like a bunch of inquiries. And so for the month of May, I was shooting at the kind of regularity that I was very happy with, very comfortable with. I think I had like 7 shoots in May, which for the first month of trading, I was super excited about. Absolutely. I was just like, that's brilliant. I was building up my portfolio. My website and my portfolio were only getting better.
Cool.
And, you know, of course, obviously I was getting enough hits on my website to convert into those jobs. So I thought, great, I'll just repeat this and I'll repeat this and I'll keep doing these kinds of adverts and it'll just repeat and I'll get the same kind of results. And then I got 0 results. So basically when I set up my Google campaign, I don't really know what I did. It was the first time doing it. It's kind of confusing if you don't know what you're doing.
Definitely.
So I might well have set up the wrong type of campaign the second time round. I might not even be able to access, like on my computer, which campaign which, so I don't know which ones were the right ones. But I do know that one of the campaigns that I did was very successful. And it got a lot of hits, and from that I got the right amount of conversions. So I kind of need to then replicate what I was doing. The problem is that was a very, very sort of unsophisticated approach. I literally just, like, I didn't even do like keywords stuff. I just was like, boom, 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 set up an ad with like, you know, here's the sort of headline with the 3 headlines and then the like 2 sort of descriptions, link to my website, boom. And it must have appeared on rankings and I got the hits. But then I was having a coffee with a friend and they were like, oh, have you done Google keywords? So she works in like advertising and does kind of SEO stuff. I say coffee. I was on a date with somebody. Okay, I was on a date with somebody and they were like, and you know, because otherwise I would be like, can I use this person to help me? Because they're a friend. We didn't end up going on a second date. So it didn't end up being possible. I could get them to help me with the keyword. But she was like, oh, have you tried Google keywords? And I was like, what's that? I've heard of it, but I'm like, how do I do this? So I typed in Adwords as she suggested. It took me to my Google kind of entry point into the thing, and I sort of started doing what I assumed to be good keyword research, following some YouTube video help stuff, and I got a bunch of keywords. I set up an ad, I pressed go on it, and I sat there and waited for days, a week, 2 weeks went past. I still haven't got any clicks on it. I've got no impressions. I'm getting nothing. So I set up another one that was like, right, okay, I'll try it out in a different way, slightly different keywords, different things, set that up, go. And I've actually pulled them up, what I can, shall I share my screen with you actually?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
So I guess while you're doing that, I'll kind of talk just based off what you said.
Very quickly, you've disabled me from sharing my screen. So
Sorry.
If you could let me do that.
Do that. Give that a go.
Great. Okay.
Cool.
Go on, Kate. Sorry, I interrupted you.
So I'm trying to figure out kind of what happened just based off what you said. Like, it sounds. How did you first go about setting up that first one? Do you remember?
I went to. Hold on, I'll show you. I went to this dashboard. You can see this on my screen, yeah.
You got Zoom up right now. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yep. Okay, so Google My Business. Okay. All right. So it prompts you to do shit through there.
Exactly. So I must have clicked this create ad.
Yeah. Okay. Walk me through this up till the point, because I'm just curious. I've seen this, but I haven't done it myself. So I'm just curious what their setup is, and that will help me understand what they did and why that potentially worked versus what you're doing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I don't know where this is going to take me, actually. Okay, this actually takes me to somewhere I know quite intimately now, but this wasn't what I was going to before. Was I going to? It's going to take me to the same place, I think. But basically, what I pressed set up a very simple ad, and I'm going to show you this. I've actually opened it on Chrome because it's slightly easier to work on Chrome, it seems to be. So this was so we're now looking at my kind of the dashboard for my first ad campaign. So here I've spent just shy of £500. I've had lots of impressions. I've had a lot of clicks, and then people have done actions on my website.
This was the first one you set up?
It was literally, this is the first one I set up. So here we are. I'm spending £9.50 as a daily average. I've got 4 text adverts running, but my keyword here is not especially sophisticated.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I didn't go through the keyword or the AdWord process that they suggest that you go through to kind of find the keywords. So this, for me, I'll show you the kind of the breakdown by days. Okay, so here I am. I start the adverts at the beginning of April. I'm getting pretty regular kind of high levels of impressions, reasonably high levels of hits and stuff. And then obviously my ad campaign ends kind of mid-May.
Because it's a budget, or did you set a timeline on it?
Just because I set a timeline.
Okay. So you said, I want to run this till the end of the month. And
exactly. I ran it for 1 month, or just over, kind of a month and a half. Mm-hmm. And it was successful. And clearly I was getting most of my inquiries from this campaign.
So do you know offhand? It says 55 conversions. Do you know what that is?
That is going to my contact us page.
Gotcha. And did you set that up manually when you made this?
As far as I can remember, and as far as I'm aware, that's what it is. Yeah.
So that's just to the contact page, not necessarily a completed form conversion.
I think yes, because I didn't get 55 inquiries. Okay. I got 10 inquiries, let's say.
Good to know.
So clearly people are clicking. There's almost 700 people clicking on my advert on my website, and then 55 of them.
I'm just trying to get as much information as I can about this, since this was a successful one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you keep talking a little bit. Go ahead.
Sure. Here, this is the clicks. So I'm getting the sort of this number of clicks over the course of this month. This for me looks pretty good. Like, I'm really happy with that. So what happened was, throughout the month, through the rest of May and into the beginning of June, I didn't run this campaign. I started running what I thought were more sophisticated campaigns. I have now restarted this campaign in a kind of desperate hope that I will be getting some inquiries.
Gotcha.
So
is this the only one you have running at the moment?
No, I have another campaign running at the moment. I'll show you that in a second. For me, spending £500 a month on adverts and maybe earning about £3 a month on bookings and shoots is the right amount.
Agreed.
Like, I don't want to be spending more than £500. And I can see that if I spend less than £500, it's not going to get me the quantity of shoots. So this campaign, as we're looking at the moment, clearly it has worked in the past, and it looks like it's about to start working again. Like, I've got some clicks going on here. I've got people looking at me again.
That's 27 clicks.
Fine.
On the 7th?
Yes.
Solid.
Yeah, so it's looking good. I'm spending just under £10 a day, so I'm not like, it's not breaking the bank. Although, of course, if I keep doing this and I don't get any bookings, then it will break the bank. But this campaign seems to be working, but it's not a very sophisticated one. So when I did the keywords, the AdWords campaign, I followed the advice on YouTube. I started these campaigns. So at the bottom here, what you have is an old campaign that clearly I've spent some money on. This also did fairly well, but I think the difference between this one and say this one and this and these three is that these three I'm
Real
doing
quick,
after I've
have 4 here. Which is which? Which is the very first one that's successful? Is that the second one?
So the successful one that we've looked at here, actually, look, I'll show you what happens when I go to AdWords. What I seem to get to is I seem to have 2 ad accounts.
Okay.
So when I click on the top one, it brings me to this more recent and what I presume to be more sophisticated set of campaigns. And when I click on the bottom one, it brings me to this one, which is the more successful and what I consider sophisticated campaign, where I've spent more of my money. Here, I've obviously done another campaign. I think this is like 2, this one was the first one, and I think this one was the kind of second one that I might have done kind of in. Again, it's a very unsophisticated, not a huge amount of keywords, just standard stuff there, text ads.
So this was 360 is the successful one, and then 380 is the more sophisticated, less return.
No, the other way around.
380 is the good one.
380 is the good one. 360 is my account, which has got 4 relatively unsuccessful campaigns on it. This one I clearly set up halfway through April, and it did reasonably well, but it didn't do anywhere near as well as this one. And I can't figure out for the life of me, it's running for a similar amount of time, maybe sort of 2 weeks less. But I don't know why it's like, 200 clicks rather than 700 clicks. The ads themselves look very similar. My daily spend is very, very similar. So here I'm spending £8 a month, and here I'm spending £9.50 a month. The keywords are really similar. The adverts themselves are basically the same. I'm boasting about myself being the best headshot photographer in London, which is obviously a lie, but why not?
Okay. All right, so that gives me a little bit. Let's kind of think about this. So from what I can tell, the reason it made 2 separate kind of accounts, right? These are 2 different accounts, not campaigns, or are they 2 different campaigns? No, they're not different campaigns. They're different accounts with multiple campaigns within each one of them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it set up you two different accounts, and I think the reason for that is the first one you did, you set up through Google My Business, so it automatically created that account through there. Then you went
Yep.
in to Google AdWords directly based off a
Yep.
suggestion. You signed up again. That made a new account for the other one. So that's why that's happening. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back away before we dig in from this. I want to know about the funnel essentially, because this is going to be a really big portion, and what I suggest needs to happen before you really start throwing money at it, um, so that you have full control of your data and you know how your money is being spent and if it actually is leading to a return. So people
Yeah.
click the ad, where does that take them? And we're gonna talk about the successful one, and that's kind of what we're gonna base things on before we look at the other.
Yeah.
So it takes them
So they
straight to
come
your
through.
homepage.
Yeah, they come straight to the homepage. There's the testimonials, a little snippet of my portfolio. You can click on, there's various kind of calls to action, like see portfolio. There's a little description of what I'm sort of trying to do, what I'm offering. Portfolio's there, obviously my address, my telephone number, and then hopefully what they do is they go to the portfolio and then they see portfolio and they're like, yes or no. The option also there is to go to the pricing so that they can book it. There's another call to action here. There's the booking form, so they can write their details. This is where I get most of my, this is the form that sends to my email most often.
Okay, so let's
contact page.
digest this for a second. I'm going to give you kind of a mini website review because this is going to be a large portion of what makes these ads successful.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up your site just so I can kind of control it and kind of look through it, give you some feedback initially, and then I'm going to pull up my website and kind of explain how I run my AdWords. So hopefully that will make sense.
Sounds good.
All right, so I don't know how this is recording or what pulls up, so hopefully this plays for the recording for other people. But so you can see my stuff, right?
I can see your screen, yeah.
Spell it TRE
VATT .com. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So me and my buddy Mike Schacht, we run Headshot Hot Sauce where we talk about website stuff a lot. So website reviews are kind of our thing. So initially, off the bat, what are you using to build your site?
Squarespace.
Squarespace. So you're somewhat limited there in customization options, but just going across the top for the header, this needs to be ideally as clean as possible and give them as few options as possible, especially if you're running ads. If you give them too many options, they're not going to end up where you want them versus you telling them exactly where you want them to go. And that's the page where they're going to convert. So if at all possible, get rid of this home option. That one definitely doesn't need to be there. People are used to clicking the logo. Logo takes them back to the home page, right? That's kind of web. We just understand that at this point. So this is a useless header option. Our thoughts on portfolio is that ideally you're showing enough of your work throughout your website where you don't need a dedicated page for it. It's just taking them to a very low converting page by taking them just to a gallery of images where ideally they can see enough of your work throughout your website. So ideally those pages you get rid of those as well. I see you have some other stuff in there. If your goal is headshots and that's what you're marketing, I'd say keep the rest of the stuff kind of out of it. Make those separate, like funnels or whatever. Just especially with the ads, you're paying to have traffic come to your website specifically for headshots. So only talk about headshots. You know, that's how you're going to get the most bang for your buck there. So that kind of gets rid of that. Pricing, I think that is so far the only thing that matters in this header. People come to our website, they want to see our work initially, which you have some here. Once they decide that, okay, yeah, these shots are up to snuff, they're what I consider good and I could see myself wanting, the next thing they want to know is the price. And so that's the next step in the funnel. So that works. Nobody cares about your blog. Don't call it a blog. If you do have it, make it something valuable, like headshot tips or something where you're actually putting something of value for people. Very few people read blogs, and if they do, it's ideally for information to get something that they want to know, the help on. And if you're playing the SEO card, like, well, we need a blog because of SEO, those blog posts, I try to avoid the word blog in general just because it has such a weird thing about it. But if you do make posts, those posts ideally should answer questions that people type into Google. And then that's how you get your long tail key. What to wear for a headshot. Okay, I have this blog post about that. And if that's SEO'd correctly, when people search that into Google, your article will come up. You provide value. If you're in their location, you're the solution to that problem. So that's kind of how a blog should work. That's website level 2.0, We want to work on getting that main funnel dialed in. Contact could work here as well. I want to know where you're at, maybe a map or something like that. So I think pricing and contact so far are the only things that matter. We want to talk less about ourselves and more about our clients and what their problems are and how we kind of solve them. We only really talk about ourselves in that capacity. I'm the solution to your problem. So about, again, not necessary. Most of those things, if you do really want to keep them, throw them in your footer as links. We've also kind of been around websites enough at this point where we know that if you scroll down to the bottom, there's probably a bunch of link options, career options, about investors, like all the terms and conditions, your privacy policy, all that shit we know is down in the footer of websites now. Things have just kind of changed as far as that goes. So this main header really needs to be clean, and you have an Instagram there as well. Throw your social links down in the footer. Not important. That takes them out of your funnel completely. And now they're on Instagram, and now they're potentially looking at dog pictures and stuff,
Yeah.
So really what you want for your header is your logo. Yeah. You could have pricing or contact. Really, pricing, I think, is the only one that matters. And ideally, that's a button, just a big button that says pricing, and they can click it. And that's the move. And then ideally, as they scroll, that header stays sticky so that button is always there with them as they go. Some Squarespace themes have that natively built in. Others you can kind of hack with some code to make that happen. But you at least have call to actions down the page, which is important, because if you don't have that in the header, you definitely want a ton of call to actions down your page so that people can get to that next step in the funnel. When it comes to call to actions on your website, you want them to be consistent so that it's repeated over and over. Pricing, get pricing, or contact us, or schedule a consultation, pick a headshot service, whatever it is, repeat it over and over so that it's very clear what you want people to do, and they're going to be more likely to do it.
Okay.
The other reason for that is you're making this funnel, and the goal is to take everybody through the exact same journey so that they're all getting the exact same information. If you have all those different options, some people might click to the pricing right away. Some people might click to the about, and they're taking different journeys. And unless all of those journeys lead to the same point, your funnel's broken. You know what I mean? So we're simplifying that whole journey for them, and we're just taking them right to where we want them. And that's pricing. We call your homepage kind of your landing page, or it's like a landing page. The goal of the landing page is to push them to the secondary page, which is your opt-in page. Your opt-in page is your opt-in page.
I lost you again. It dropped down.
Fucking internet. All right, can you still hear me? Ish.
Yeah.
The goal of your landing page is to push to the opt-in page.
Opt-in, okay.
Opt-in, yeah. And an opt-in can be a few different things. It can be filling out a form. It could be downloading an asset or like a lead magnet, like a PDF or something, which is also still filling out a form. It could be pricing, or it could be a scheduler directly, or checkout system of some kind where they're giving you credit card information. They're actually making the purchase. That's the opt-in. They're giving you their information or money in exchange for something. And so that's the goal of a funnel. Really simply, landing page pushes to the opt-in page. Opt-in page gets their information. Once they've opted in, that takes them to a confirmation or a thank you page. And that thank you page is what counts as your conversion. So that's how you know your funnel is successful. So as it relates to AdWords, once they've opted in some capacity, that is your conversion. Right now, you said a conversion is counting as just somebody getting to that page. That's valuable information, but that's not tracking your ROI on your ad spend. You obviously know how many people are filling out that form and booking. So that's a little more helpful, but still not as specific as you want. Once your actual website gets rocking with SEO and you're actually ranking higher on Google and you're getting organic traffic, your organic traffic and paid traffic from ads is going to start to get mixed. And in order to prepare for when that happens, you want to keep those separate so that you know the people who are filling out the contact form who came from ads are these people and who came organically are these people. Right now, you're in an okay position because you don't really got much happening. Most of the traffic is coming from the ads. So you're safe right now. But again, thinking long term, set things up right now. You want to be able to distinguish the difference between the two.
Makes sense.
So we talked about the call to action buttons. So ideally, all of these call to action buttons push to that pricing page. Right now, they're all kind of pushing to portfolio. You really only have like the two, it seems. So it looks like you had more work on the portfolio page versus what you have here. I don't know how much you've shot or how deep your portfolio goes. Obviously, as much as you can, get some work on here. Get it cranking. Get some more dudes. It looks like. But let's go to the pricing page because that's what everybody wants, and that's what I'm curious about.
Of course.
Yeah, you got more shots here too. So like all of these are chilling on your pricing page, which is fine. Split it up, take half of them, put them on the homepage, just so there's more of a balance. But I dig this. Once they've gotten to your opt-in page, you don't want them to do anything else but opt-in. So having a big call to action button taking them to another page at this point, not ideal. Ideally, this is where whatever you want to happen is happening. So you do have a contact form on here. So then it's a bit redundant to push them to a secondary contact page with another form,
Makes sense.
I don't know how you're doing things right now. Is this contact form the exact same form as the one that's on your contact page, or are they two different forms?
I think they're two different forms.
So you're already doing better there. A lot of people, they just duplicate the same form. And again, now you're mixing data. Did they opt in on the pricing page? Did they opt in on the contact page? You want to keep that separate as well. So ideally they're two. If they're not, do check that out. We got pricing here. I would make it, let's see. Okay, so are you just based off kind of quick scan, are you doing TNT?
Yep.
Okay, make it more clear in general. So you kind of have this paragraph, but you're not very specific on it. You say, I usually take a few hundred in this time. We can sit, so it's optional. We can sit and review the images before you leave the studio. This way you can select the ones you want. It's definite. That is the situation. Don't shy away from it. At the end of the session, you're going to select the favorite images you want to purchase. Be very clear in your language. It's a separate fee. Even up here in your package, don't make this a kind of, right now it's kind of like one of the features of the session is kind of how you have this laid out.
Yep.
Make it just as important as the session fee is. Session fee is 175, final images are 25, you know.
Mhm.
It is what it is. They have to select that. So do a little bit of love on this page, make this process very clear that this is how it's priced and this is how the session works.
Yeah.
The more clear you make this, that's going to increase your conversions as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got the form here too. Is Acuity on your radar at all?
Acuity, no.
Write it down, look into it. There with Squarespace, I believe it's free actually. I'm one of the basic plans, so absolute no-brainer to be using it. It's a scheduler, and people pick the date they want. They pay for the session, and you have a booking. That is, it's going to be a game changer for you. I was against it for a very, very long time. If you go back in old crew videos and stuff, like Maurice and some of the other guys, they were very early to adopt the scheduler, and I kind of pushed back against it because I was like, oh, I don't want people to know my availability or know how busy I am. And it felt weird, but damn it, they were right. And as soon as I implemented it, man, game changer for the business.
Okay, brilliant.
This is, it sucks because they fill out this form and then it's like, okay, now what? You know, how long do I wait? What happens? Then you have those emails back and forth. Well, when are you free? Oh, sorry, no, I got to take my kids out that day. You know, like all that nonsense. Scheduler makes it super easy and great for conversion. So
Yeah,
that is on your to-do list as well.
great. Actually, that does make a lot of sense because starting in September, I'll be back into teaching again. So
You have a
I
more
will
set schedule.
have 2 or 3 days a week where I can shoot, and having a scheduler makes a lot of sense. And it looks quite good to be blocked out.
Yep.
For maybe sort of 4 days a week or 3 days a week.
Yeah, you have options to fully customize it based off your availability. You can actually hide more appointments than you actually have booked, which is what I do now. So it makes you have less appointments available, makes you look a little bit busier. If that was a worry, so that got rid of that fear.
Great.
What else was I gonna say about it? Yeah, but anyway, that's a major to do list for you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna put that on here instead of this form.
Sure.
And that's for your main website. Now, that's fine. That's how I have my main website set up. And I'll pull it up here now just so I can kind of quick run you through it. But it's going to have basically everything I just said.
Yeah.
So, super clear header.
Yeah.
Pricing, nothing else to do but click pricing. I got a big example of the work, you know, some similar situations, different things, testimonials.
Yeah. It's all on one page. Yeah.
Yep, all the different information. I'm talking about the group shoots and stuff.
Yeah.
I have an opt-in here as well. People can fill this out. It's based on a scroll, this pop-up.
Yeah.
If they fill this out, they get automatically added to my email list.
Mm-hmm.
No thanks. Videos are good too. Looks like my site didn't load right there, but I gotta fix it. But anyway, things push to the pricing.
Yeah.
I kind of segment a little verse based off individual shoots and group shoots. So those are two options there. Individual, if they go to group headshots, I'm just kind of running you through the funnel. So you can see if they go to the group headshots, now I'm again very clear. Get estimate is the main call to action.
Yep.
And this then changes to individual pricing if they want to go to that. It's no longer anything else because they're at a different point in my funnel.
Mm-hmm.
If they hit this button, it just pushes them down to the bottom of the page. This explains, you know, all the group shoots, video, the different things that are available, more examples, and then this is the opt-in there. for the group shoots. I do need more information. So this can't really be a scheduler, at least not in this current iteration. It's got to be a form. That's how this funnel works. If we go to individual headshots, it's definite. So we get some behind the scenes pictures, which shows a look into the process. People can see themselves there. It shows your studio, it shows your legit operation. It's just nice proof. Very clearly how the session works, like I was talking about for yours.
Yeah.
I will help you narrow down the images, purchase your favorites before you leave. Pricing is very clear, session fee, image fee. I'm not hiding anything. I'm also very clearly stating images are selected at the end of the session. Retouching is included. Here's the scheduler. They choose the date, time they want. Give me it, book it. FAQ, more stuff. That's my website, really. And then here on this page, the only other thing they can do is then go to group pricing. They nowhere else. So once they've gotten here, it's like kind of like you said, either they book it or they fill out the form or they don't. Right? That's the goal. Super clear funnel. I don't really even have anything in the footer because so here are my social links. I do have those, but otherwise I have nothing else that I want them to know because I've already explained it on one of the 2 pages.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Very clear. Yeah.
Now that you've seen that, this is the site. Now I'm going to take you to my AdWords funnel because it's different. It looks the exact same, but it's very different. So once you've completed your main funnel, which is your website there, what you do is you duplicate those pages, and now you have a whole new one. And then you got to make some tweaks to those so that it's a closed off funnel. And what I mean by that is this looks, again, pretty much the exact same as the other one did, a little different. But when they hit get pricing here, now it takes them to an actual opt-in page where they have to fill out the form to get my pricing.
Okay.
The reason for this is, and not the scheduler, is I tried it when I first started running my ads. I tried having the scheduler and trying to get people to book right away. I got a couple, but that's not the case because how many people are going to get there and decide you're too expensive and bounce, right? A lot. I'm paying for those people to look at that. I want to get something in return for that. And in return for that is their email. They have to opt in. So the reason for that is conversion tracking. So now I know how successful my ad campaign is. Of the people, so basically I'm going to run you through the data. Impressions is how many times your ad is shown. You know that. How many clicks is how many people click your ad. Now they're on your landing page, which is that home page. And so then you can go in your Google Analytics and look at the website visitors and track how many people got to that page. Then how many people from there clicked to your opt-in page, which is this one. So now I know if 100 people got to this page, but only 50 got here, that's my conversion rate between those 2 pages. And if that's significantly lower, I think 50% is about what mine is, which is pretty good. That just means something didn't connect, my work or something. I don't know. They weren't interested enough to look at my pricing. But that is a very good data point to have in your funnel. If you have 100 people getting to that page and only 5 of them are hitting the opt-in page, you fucked up something on your landing page. Maybe you don't have enough call to actions. Maybe your work isn't awesome. Maybe your messaging sucks. Like there's something that's happening there, but that gives you a data point to look for that leak and make some changes.
Yeah.
Then how many people hit here versus actually opting in. Once they opt in, that's the conversion. Boom. Now I have a solid metric for my AdWords campaign. I've spent 500 pounds to get people to my website. I have 3 form conversions, 3 people who have filled out that form, or let's make it easy. 5 people who filled out that form. I know I'm paying $100 per lead, essentially.
Yeah.
And I know I have 5 people in my leads, and maybe 2 of them book. So I know I'm booking that percentage of them. And I know if I spent 500 pounds and 2 of them booked, it cost me $250 per booking. That's my
Yeah.
cost to acquire that customer.
Mhm.
So that's kind of your data arc. That make total sense?
Yep. Yeah, that does.
So this form is attached to my CRM and to my email service autoresponder. Again, kind of next level stuff. But if you're gonna run the ad campaign, I think you do it right. You know, you're gonna pay so much for these leads to get them. You got to milk that and maximize that as much as possible. You're spending your money. It's important that you get what you can from it. So this gives them the option to choose different pricing, acting, corporate, or group headshots. If they choose group headshots, the email that goes out to them asks them for more information about their project, how many people, where's it at, how many days, all that kind of stuff. These are basically treated the exact same, acting and corporate, but that differentiates them in my CRM. Just so I know, it's a good data point to have again as well. I know how many actors are interested, how many corporate people.
Yeah.
That also helps when it comes to keywords as well in your ads campaign. Maybe I see less corporate people are opting in. I'm getting more acting stuff. So maybe I go back and look at the AdWords data and look, are my acting related keywords converting better? Maybe. Do I need to give more love to my corporate words? Like what's happening there? It's all data. This game is data. You gotta love it.
Do you, just a quick question, do you shoot your acting headshots differently to the way you shoot your corporate headshots?
Not really. Yes and no. It kind of still depends. With TNT, less so, because again, the more you shoot, the more they're probably going to buy, the more variety. So
Yep.
there's really no reason to not shoot everyone different ways now. Whereas before there might have been a little bit of a difference, but
Yeah.
that said, I do have a slightly different style for my actors than I do corporate people. Corporate people are probably a little bit more professional looking, you know, clean, whereas actors I can get a little bit more portraity, more personality. It's more lax, you know. I can show you my work after, but I don't want to get into that.
I'll check your Instagram.
Yeah,
I can
totally.
kind of see at the bottom here that there are a few, like there's clearly this guy in this black top in the center. He looks more like an actor, whereas there are clearly people look like the
Corporate
guys on
people.
the side look more corporate, not just
Yeah.
because of what they're wearing, but the sort of setup looks a bit more like that. So
But mainly what they're wearing, and that was how I differentiated stuff for the longest time, and that's how I explained it to people was, you know, it's really just what you're wearing. You're still you. Maybe the expressions go a little bit different for actors, but it's still a picture of you, and it's got to show
yeah,
personality. So that
yeah,
was how I used to differentiate it. Now I really do need to redo my website and start getting more of my other stuff on there. But again, that's my stuff. We're talking about you. Once they fill out this form, it redirects them to the thank you page, which you do need to make. Um, and again, I'm not super familiar with Squarespace as to the capabilities of that redirect happening. Um, I know there are
I
other
think
people in my group that are, and they know how to do all that. So if you run into a roadblock there, hit me up and I can put you in contact with the people.
I think that they do have a thank you thing, and I think it just appears. It's like the form disappears, and there's just
Yeah.
a block there, and it has thank you for your, and you can personalize that. So I could write something similar to that on that particular thing.
Really ideal scenario is we get that redirect this other page, because again that counts as a clear form conversion, whereas
Yeah,
if it's just that pop-up, that might not count the conversion.
sure.
On this specific page, I had to go into AdWords, pull a snippet of code, or like set up a custom conversion. It gives me code, and then I had to install that code on this page so that it cookies people once they get here.
Yeah,
It counts that conversion. So
yeah,
again, this is the ideal scenario. You got a lot more to do before you get here.
mhm,
When you do, we'll cross that bridge. But you can see that it says email sent. The pricing is on its way. I don't give them the pricing here. Like they opted in, you would think that the pricing would be here. I would have the scheduler. I tried that too. Some people would book right away, and that happens, but I have a longer game in my mind, and that's my emails. So now they've opted in. I want them to go to their email inbox, open it up, click the link in the email, and what that does is it tells their email service provider that I'm not spam and that I'm a decent thing, so that now they're going to continue to get my emails. I have a drip sequence that hits them for the next year. Yeah, okay, you follow with me. It drips stuff for the next year, and I have the ability. I have what I call a weekly studio snapshot that once they've hit a certain point in that sequence, I'm basically just repurposing the content I post on social media, and that I put in a weekly email that gets sent out to people, so that no matter what, they're going to get an email from me every week indefinitely until they book. Right?
Okay.
So long game. And that sounds ridiculous, but I at least 10 minimum, bare minimum 10, and I know it's more than that, of people who have gotten past that year point and are booking off the emails. They just are. You know, maybe you are too expensive, so they need time to save. Maybe they were just interested in how much headshots cost and they weren't ready to book right now. They need time. It's going to come up, but if you're there when they're ready and you've been providing value that whole time, you're going to be the solution to their problem. So, and again, you're paying money for these people. Maximize it, milk it.
Yeah.
Hit them up until they tell you to fuck off, which is unsubscribing basically.
Yeah.
And if they unsubscribe, they weren't going to be your client, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But those people who stay in there, keep them.
Is that an automated email? It's
it
just
is
a regular.
now.
Yeah.
But when I first started that, I used my CRM, and I wrote out email templates. Like I think I started with like 5 I wrote out, and I was sending them like every 4 days. So people started opting in through AdWords. I was getting leads now, and at first I was just manually emailing the back, and like a week, like I hadn't heard anything. Like, hey, do you still need headshots? Crickets, you know. And then maybe another week I'd be like, all right, well, hey, what about now? Do you still need headshots now? And that's what I was doing, you know. But it was only when I thought about it, or like, man, I don't have business. Let me email these people and see. I'm like, I have to get something more repeatable. I was doing, I got a lot of my business from Thumbtack early on, and I realized that the more I followed up with them on Thumbtack, the more I was booking them. So I was like, okay, now on this AdWords game, I have to do the exact same thing. And so that's when I was like, all right, I'll write 5 stock emails and consistently hit them every 4 days. So you do the math, I think maybe like a month-ish around there of emails. And I did it manually. I had an Excel spreadsheet. I had their email address and name, and I had it color coded based off when I needed to follow up with them. And each day I would look at it and say, okay, I need to follow up with these people. I'd see the email and I'd send it out. And that's how I did that for a while. And I said, this sucks. I got to find a better way. So then in my CRM, I had the ability to make lead statuses, which basically are the same thing. You put them in a bucket, they stay there until X amount of time, and then it puts them in a new bucket automatically. I didn't have to like do it in the Excel spreadsheet anymore. It did it automatically. It says, hey, you need to follow up with these 5 people today. Cool. I took those email templates, put it in my CRM. I see the email they got. I click the next template, sent. That sped up that process. And I ran like that for 2 years. And AdWords was working. And I think at one point, like when things were super stacked out, I had 50 people per day that I had to follow up with. again, a year I was keeping these people in there. So once I got to the end of that 5 email sequence, it would be like, you need to follow up with these people today, and I didn't have anything. I ran out of my 5, so I was like, all right, I guess I got to write another one. So I wrote another email. It would hit the next 4 days. All right, well, shit, I have to write another email, and I kept doing that for a while until I had something pretty solid stacked out. That's how I built everything. And then, like I said, I did that manually for 2 years. Every single day I would send 50 emails per day manually. I did it. And then I said, this is fucking ridiculous. I can't do this anymore. And that's when I got my autoresponder software and made templates, doing all that automated. And now it's all connected in there. They fill out the form. I don't have to do anything anymore. It just automatically sends the stuff, and that's the game.
Nice.
Because my goal is to share this on the crew. Shameless self-promotion. I have taken all of that work and packaged it up into this email templates for headshot photographers.
Amazing.
So yeah, here's an example of that sequence. These are all the dripped headshot tips that they get. Once they book, here are the emails I use. And then after I've delivered their images, I follow up with them for the next 3 years after that, trying to get them to come back. Right? It's taken me a while, but this is the game. So I sell these, and in with this, I have information on how I've set all of that up in the autoresponder. So there's that for people. But anyway, back on topic.
Amazing.
This is the game. This is the game. If you want to do it and play it right, that's the blueprint for AdWords. Okay. Yeah. I know that's probably overwhelming. Yeah, no.
Super overwhelming. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, that's something I'll do in like 6 months' time. I'll get
absolutely
onto that.
And that's totally okay. And I tried to explain that process of how I did it manually, so that you can feel the same way. You don't have to go from this to this immediately. Yeah. Take your baby steps. Like I said, right now, acuity is top importance there. Getting that funnel worked out, all your call to actions, push people from there to there. Once you have that, duplicate those pages and make it for your AdWords. Now let's go back to that real quick, because that's super important as well.
Yeah.
When you duplicate those pages for your AdWords, you have to close them off. You have to close off all the exits so that they stay self-contained in that funnel. So this is my AdWords landing page. It looks just like my main website, right? Mm-hmm. We know that these call to action buttons push to that pricing opt-in page. The difference is this isn't a real header. So when this logo is not clickable, so they can't go back to my real homepage. They can't do anything but get to that opt-in page. And then I've even pretty much disabled this footer so that the footer doesn't even take them back to the homepage. They're here, they're stuck, they can't navigate anywhere else on my website. Once they get to this pricing page, the opt-in page, if they click this logo takes them back to the ad landing page, not my real homepage. So they're self-contained within these 2 pages. They can't do anything else. That's super important, because what was happening before when I was running my ads was people would be in here, they'd get to this form and be like, I don't want to give you my email. Let's keep fucking around. They would click, get to my real homepage, navigate to my actual pricing, see it, then bounce. And I never got their email, So they kind of circumvented the funnel, essentially. So you want to lock this off so that your AdWords traffic is staying there. They can only opt in. Your AdWords people are your AdWords people. That makes sense?
It does. That feels like something that I will do again at a point when I'm kind of getting a little bit more business. I think it feels like the kind of thing that you do when you are getting more organic. You have the kind of organic stuff that goes to your website, and then you're getting this kind of sort of advert. At the moment, because my adverts are the only things that people are seeing, I've not got the organic stuff.
I'm with that.
I feel like
do it sooner rather than later.
Okay.
It's easy enough once you've dialed in those 2 pages a little bit, just a little bit more. I've already given you what you need. Again, that page pushes to that page. Once you've done that, all you have to do is duplicate it, and that's super, super easy.
Yeah.
Just do it, knock it out, make it happen. And then as things start to progress, then you can really fancify your AdWords funnel, all of it, get to the email stuff, but you already have that foundation built.
Yeah.
You know?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So I mainly wanted to focus on that a lot because I think it is really, really important to the success of your campaign.
Yeah, definitely.
That out of the way, let's actually go back to your.
And it's something that's very much in my control as well, because I can change my website in a day. It's, I can really follow those tips very easily. So yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's go back to your AdWords and let's talk that, since
Should I share my screen?
Yeah, that's why you came here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gave you an hour of nonsense, but I think it's important.
It's good nonsense. It's very important. So, okay, let's look at these 2 campaigns. So this is a successful one, or I mean, I say successful, but obviously that conversion rate there, and then the conversion of maybe only sort of 10 actual real inquiries doesn't feel as successful as perhaps it should do. Like 700 down to 10 isn't really not really a good conversion rate.
Right. So it's tough to say because it doesn't look like you have a ton of options here. This dashboard looks completely different than that other one does. Would you agree? Or is there a way you can navigate in here that gives you a little bit more?
So this is my most recent campaign that then pulls up this. So this is when I've been doing the AdWords, and you can see that
click switch
I've got
view
these
up there and top right.
So say again.
Switch view. This is really what we need. This gives you the good stuff.
Great.
Okay. I want to see if we can get this for the successful campaign. And if we can't, that means they are definitely set up differently.
Yeah, I don't think that we can. This is why I got so confused as to why I was running, one ad that seemed to be successful, which is this one, and then ads that weren't successful but were really sophisticated.
Yeah. So let me take you back on my journey again with AdWords. Yeah. AdWords has been on my radar for years. Like, I think if you go back and search on the crew, you can find posts from like 2015 or something. I don't know, back maybe not that far, maybe 2018. While back, where I was interested in AdWords, and I think I made a post like, "Hey, is anybody doing this? Does it work?" That's what we do. We want to know, is it successful before I put work into it versus just trying it and figuring it out. I got I think a postcard or an email or something that said, "We'll give you $500 of free ad credit if you spend 500." I was doing decently well at the time. I had 500 to spend. I was like, I'll spend 500 to get another 500. That's $1,000 basically to play with an ad budget. And if I can't figure out something within $1,000, I'm doing something wrong,
Yeah, sure.
Which I think is kind of where you are as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to start making a little bit more money before I spend 500 off the bat, but certainly if I'm making $3,000 a month, then 500 doesn't seem to be too much of an expense.
Yeah. So that started me on my journey. And the first thing I set up, I forget what they called it. It was like AdWords Express, I think. And that sounds very much like what your successful campaign is. And it took away all of these features, all the data, all the good stuff, the sophisticated stuff, in order to make it super easy to get people into their platform so that they can set up their ads improperly for them and make more money. Essentially, that's Google's game. So you get less control. The user experience is far easier. It was way easy to set up. I just punch in some keywords and Google does the rest. Cool. So and that's kind of why I would like I'm going to dig into the sophisticated ones so you can actually see what's happening. And I wish you could do the same thing for the one that's working to know, because while it looks like it's successful, like I think, what was it, the 7th on the successful campaign, you got what, 27 clicks? Just recently?
Clicks, yeah.
This last spike
yeah,
up?
29 clicks, yeah. And I'm just the other day I got 23 clicks.
That's a lot.
27 clicks, yeah.
That's a lot in a day, at least from my own campaign and for a couple of the handful of other photographers that I know that run AdWords, and knowing their data a little bit, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And the reason for that hopefully will become clear. This feels successful because of those numbers, but again, we know now, after having ran through that funnel, what actually indicates success.
Yeah.
So go back to the sophisticated one, and let's kind of dig in there for a second. What is your knowledge, after having futzed around in here, of how AdWords structures campaigns?
Imagine I'm a small child who has no idea about that.
Okay, that's fair, and I think a lot of people are. So the structure of AdWords is this: you have campaign, which you have a few of those that you've started. You have a campaign. Within your campaign, you have ad groups,
which is down here. Yeah.
Over to the left as well. So all the way in the gray, you have, those are your campaigns. And then if you click those campaigns, within that, you have ad group 1, it says, right? And then if you go to that white sidebar next to it, you can see, like, ad groups, landing pages, keywords, right? So you have campaigns. Within a campaign, you have ad groups. Within ad groups, you have keywords. And within your ad groups and keywords, you have your actual ads. That's the structure. Your quick campaign is what I'm going to call it. The successful one, we're just going to call it the quick campaign for now.
Yep.
The way that is set up, and the way they had you set that up, is it made a campaign, it made one ad group, and now it has what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish keywords there.
Yeah, about 10. Yeah.
You have one campaign, one ad group, 10 keywords, and you had 4 ads, I think, running, you said?
4 ads, yeah.
So what that does is, anytime someone types one of the keywords into Google, that's going to trigger that ad group that keyword is in. And then it is going to trigger one of the ads that is in that ad group. So you have 4 right now. So if people trigger your keywords, let's say 400 times, right? You get 400 impressions based off whatever keywords they typed in. It's going to rotate between those 4 ads evenly amongst that range. It's going to A/B test them, essentially. And one of them is going to start to outperform the others. And Google is going to favor one as being the higher converting ad, and it's going to show the other ones less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
That's how this is set up. Now go back to the sophisticated one.
Yeah.
You want to do that on a much higher level, or a better level. So that's the structure. Let's talk about keywords now. Keywords, you have a few different options. You have broad match, exact match, and like phrase match. Those are like the 3 main ones. Then you have like some other ones as well. I haven't been in there in a while, so I don't completely remember, but those are the big ones. Broad match, exact match, phrase match. The difference between those are, broad match means, let's say the broad match keyword is acting headshots, or let's just say headshots.
Yeah.
Anytime someone types anything with the word headshots in it, it's going to trigger your ad. So if people type Fortnite headshot kills, right?
Right, yeah,
or
of
Call of
course.
Duty headshot kills, and I want to see videos of all the headshots, or like how to unlock that achievement in that game. It's going to trigger
Yeah.
your ad because it's just broad match. It's anything in the realm of headshots, right?
Mhm.
It's also going to go a step further and maybe put a space in between there, head space shots. That's what broad match is it's super, super vague. And
Yeah.
because of that, you're going to get a lot of impressions from people that don't matter,
Yeah.
that are not ideal. And that's what your quick campaign is doing. All of those keywords are broad match. So your
Right.
impressions are sky high, potentially your clicks are high, and maybe a lot of those people aren't actually even looking for what you're doing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And but those 55 who got to your contact page, I think that's a more accurate estimate, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exact match is they have to type that in exactly.
Mhm.
So acting headshots. And if they type acting headshot, it's not going to trigger because it's not exact. It has to be, exact. And so when I first
Yeah.
started running my campaigns like this, I did everything exact match because I really wanted to be specific and I only wanted people who type these things specifically.
Yeah.
That worked. You pay more for those. You pay more for the exact match because it is so specific. So
Mhm.
therefore it's worth a little bit more than the broad match. Those are cheaper, bigger sample size, bigger click-through rates, it's cheaper because it's less specific. So that's kind of the difference between those. Phrase match is similar, but let's say I have acting headshots as phrase match. What phrase match will do is it will insert a space in between each of those. So it's a little plus symbol is how it's notated. It's
Mhm.
plus acting plus headshots. And what
Mhm.
that does is if somebody types best acting headshots in Chicago, it's it it appends best before acting headshots Chicago, and it adds that little bit. So it knows that the main things you want to focus on are acting headshots, but it will show your ad as long as it's relatively within that context.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Those are your three main different match types, and that's kind of how they're treated by Google. Now, that being said, what the quick campaign is doing is you know the difference between the match types now, so you know why you're getting bigger impressions,
Yeah.
clicks potentially because of that alone.
Mhm.
Now, to get a little bit deeper into AdWords and how it works as far as bidding, because that's what it is. AdWords is an auction essentially, and other photographers or advertisers are bidding on these keywords. They're coming to
Mhm.
this auction, this marketplace. They're saying, I want to bid on that keyword and I want to have my ad show for that. You guys are competing, and people who pay more are going to get a higher spot. Just
Mhm.
kind of is what it is. That's how it works. I'm bidding on this keyword. I'm going to get my results higher.
Yeah.
So that's one game you could play. You could set your max bid per click really high, and that ensures that your ads are going to pretty much show up at the top. You're going to be spending a lot more,
Mhm.
but that is a game you can play.
Yeah.
The
I
other
guess
way it works, go ahead.
I was just going to say that if looking at the keywords here, and I've got business photographs seems to be performing really well, but there's no guarantee that people who are searching for business photographs are actually looking for headshots. And I've spent £37 on people clicking on my website, and none of them might have wanted to get a headshot.
And we're going to dig into that even more because there's one step further. Again, if that is broad match, how
It
many
is, yeah.
people actually type business photos versus what they actually searched? And you can look that up. You can look up what people actually typed in to trigger your ads.
Interesting.
And that's really, really important. We'll get there.
Mhm.
The other way the bidding works is by quality score. So your ads that you create are assigned a quality score, 0 out of 10, or it's out of 10 essentially, 10 being the best quality score. if your ad has a higher quality score, it can show up higher than people who are paying more than you.
Sure.
So you can pay less but get a better spot because your ad is better quality. It has a higher click-through rate, has better, better impressions. It's more tailored. It is a better solution. Google's game is, the reason they're successful is people come to Google with a problem, they type it in, Google gives them a bunch of solutions. The better those solutions are, the better Google is. People are going to keep coming back to Google because they get what they want. They get the information they need that solves their problem. So that's kind of how organic search works as well. It's going to put different photographers' websites up. The one that does the best gets the top of Google because it's a better solution to that problem. It's the same thing for ads. So your goal is to make your ads as be as high of quality score as you can so that you pay less for the same, right? That's the game. What the Quick campaign is doing right now is it's saying those 10 keywords you have 4 ads attached to them. Let's just say you only had 1 ad. You have 4, but one of them is probably performing the best. It's doing the most. So let's just say you have that 1 ad. You have all of those keywords, the 10 keywords, and we know that those are broad match now. So even more keywords than just those 10 are triggering your ads. You're telling Google that that one single ad that's performing well is the best solution for all of those keywords.
Sure.
That can't be right. That can't be the case, right?
Yeah.
So go back to the sophisticated one. We know the structure now is campaign, ad group, keywords within the ad group, ads within that ad group related to those keywords. The advanced AdWords structure is called single keyword ad groups, SKAGs. And what that is you get really, really granular. And so now you have your one campaign, but instead of having one ad group with 10 keywords, I have one ad group with 1 keyword and 1 ad for that keyword. So I'm going to do acting and corporate. Those are easy to kind of differentiate.
Yeah.
I have my one campaign. I have 1 ad group that is acting headshots, and I have a separate ad group that is corporate headshots.
Yeah.
Now what that does is I'm more granular already. I can make 2 ad now because within each of those ad groups, they have their own ads. I can make this corporate ad talk specifically to corporate people. Do you need a LinkedIn headshot? Are you a CEO, entrepreneur? I can make that ad specifically for that. And because of that, when people are searching, that headline is going to resonate with whatever they're searching for, and it's going to have a higher click-through rate than everybody else who is doing what you were doing and doing the Quick campaign, and they have their one generic ad targeting everything. But because you're speaking specifically to their problem, you're going to get a higher click-through rate. You get a higher click-through rate, that increases your quality score of that ad. You pay less, you rank higher. Boom. Same thing for acting headshots. Do you need more auditions? Whatever it is, acting headshots near me, like that. You've separated those out. Within each of those ad groups, you have keywords. But because we said we only, it's a single keyword ad group, we're only focusing on that one, instead of doing, and you could, and this is what I think you should do to start off with, is maybe you do something like that, break it off into big kind of broad chunks at first, where you have all of your acting related keywords that you want: acting headshots, audition photos, actor headshots. I don't know your South London headshots, London acting headshots, like that. Separate it into maybe 3 groups: your acting ones, your corporate ones, and then your generic location based ones: Southeast London headshots, best headshot photographer in London, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Separate those into groups to begin with, but ideally at some point you want to get granular to that single keyword ad group game because of how much better it is. And instead of having those genres of keywords in an ad group, you really do only have single keywords. So instead of having acting headshots near me, acting headshot photographer, you just have one ad group with acting headshots, and the 3 keywords within that are your 3 different match types: broad match, phrase match, exact match. Super specific. And then at some point, one of those 3 match types is going to convert better as well, and then you kill the other 2. And then you make a separate, and what that's going to do is you have your exact match keyword, acting headshots. Anytime somebody types that in specifically, it's definitely going to trigger that ad group and that ad. If somebody types something kind of related to it, the broad match, which is what the quick campaign is doing now, it's still going to trigger that. And what that is used for is farming for keywords, essentially. And because it's so broad and it can trigger a lot, I'm going to show you how, but then you dig into the data and it says what people actually typed in. And then you can make negative keywords, which excludes the ones that don't matter. But maybe you realize, okay, acting headshot photographer near me or something becomes one that has a really high impression and click-through rate. Okay, I understand that now. You take that and split it off into its own ad group, and you make an ad specifically for it. Because it's high converting, now you take that and make a new one, right? This is the game.
Nice. It's good.
Again, super next level stuff, but I'm going that way just so you know. And again, you can break it down and be simple at first, but that's where you're heading. So I think that's as deep as I need to go there. Does that all make sense?
It does. Yeah, it really does. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, before we had this conversation and you know, I was looking at videos and stuff like this, it was just like, boom, so much stuff to look at.
And I think it still is, even what I just said, but it hopefully is clear enough that it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, my concern really was that, you know, for example, we go back to this campaign. Like, I'm running this campaign at £15 a day budget, but I'm getting nothing. So this looks like it's off almost.
Okay. So here's the other thing too that needs to be said. You have 2 campaigns running, right?
Yeah.
You're competing with yourself.
Actually, well, that's the thing. So I'll tell you the timeline of this. So I started this campaign before I started this campaign, and this campaign, the one that looks like it's off. The reason I started the newer campaign is because this just wasn't doing anything. I was like getting nothing. I was like, what's wrong? Have I clicked a wrong button somewhere? Have I, like, you know? But it's enabled. It's eligible. It's I'm spending money. I've filled the, you know, everything out presumably. So what is it that is, you know, I've had 14 impressions. That's so weird to me.
Go back to the other one.
This one, yeah. And I started it, you know, I must have started it.
You do have different keywords. I think that's worth noting already. I'm just looking over there. You have 7. The other one had 10, which is fine. But the other one, you had like dating photos. I don't know how often that gets searched. Photo portfolio. Again, that's pretty generic. I don't know how many people are typing photo portfolio. And if they are, they're probably not the people you want, you know. Nick James, like all those different things, that matters. So these could just be shittier keywords. LinkedIn headshot should, like, some of these definitely should be getting something, but again, you're competing with yourself. So at some point that other campaign is doing better. So only have your one campaign running. I think kill this one. It's not helping you.
It's not, it's paused, dead.
I don't necessarily know why the other one is, and I don't think it's worth looking into. Just because this is working now, and this is what we need to matter. Same thing if you have your quick campaign running still too. dial this, like get this structure set up before you turn it back on, and keep this one, because you know, I actually don't even think you should be running this one because of the broad match, you know? Like
Yeah.
you're getting the stuff, but are you getting the stuff? I just don't want you to be spending money that you don't know isn't working.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the issue is obviously like I'm getting the sorry, the clicks. I'm getting, you know, like 27 clicks a day on this. Like, of course, you know, 70% of those clicks could be people that don't even
But you don't
know
know.
what a photograph
And
is.
that's the shitty part of this, is it gives you zero
No
data.
idea.
No
Yeah.
data. You don't know.
Whereas this one, you know, we're getting, that's pretty good. 44 clicks a day.
Absolutely. But you
That's
have
a good one.
you have those data over there, and that's what's important, is you know how much you're spending on that keyword, how much the
Yeah.
clicks per keyword are costing, which is super good. So I kind of think you kill the quick one too. It sucks because you know you were getting forms and stuff, but I think we can get that other one rocking. I think we make it happen. And again, if worse comes to worse and it's not, you can turn that back on if you get to that point, and that's up to you
Yeah.
to decide. I don't what Without being pry, what is job situation? Are you full time? Do you have another gig?
No, I've got, so basically because I teach at university and I'm coming up to a point where I might be getting a permanent position. I finished my PhD at the end of last year. So I'm
Congrats.
hoping that come September, I'm getting a permanent position. So like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm earning, I could, you know, starting in September, I could be starting to earn money. It's just getting me from here to September. But at the same time, I don't have huge overheads. So I can play around with this a little bit, and I can, you know, it's not that it's, I don't have a lot of money, but at the same time, you know, I earned £3 grand last month from photography, and if I can repeat that the
Yeah.
the next 3 months, then I'm super happy. Going into September, if I'm earning money from my job, from my sort of permanent job, and I'm earning money and I'm earning the same kind of money from headshots, I'll be
Yeah.
shooting 2 days a week. You know, if I can do 2 or 4 shoots per week, I'm basically earning more money than I know what to do with at that point, because I don't have very many overheads. You know, I don't have a mortgage on my house. I'm not like, you know, spending lots and lots of money. The only real expense at the moment is equipment, Google ads, and then, like, you know, food and basically my life. But of course, you know, I have had a year of having no income whatsoever, so I'm at the bottom of my overdraft as well.
I also know that game. I call that overdraft land, and I spent many a days vacationing in overdraft land.
Oh yeah, it's my home. It's not a vacation for me. It's been my home for the last 15 years, being in education for all of that time.
I'm with it,
I'm
man.
not I'm not stressed, essentially, and I don't have a lot of money to play with. So if this isn't successful, then I start getting a little bit concerned. But at the same time, if we make this successful, then I'm happy.
All right, that makes me really happy to know you're in a really good place. Stakes are low here, relatively speaking. Stakes are low. It's not like
Yeah. I'm not losing my house anytime
yeah.
soon, so we're okay.
Whereas I know other people, photographers that have come through, you know, they're like, fuck it, you know, I'm setting a goal. I bought this studio, and now I quit my job. I went full-time photographer. I'm gonna make this happen. You know, I'm giving myself till the end of the year to become profitable. And what the fuck? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And
Yeah.
so now you're playing from a point of desperation, and that never leads anywhere good, you know.
No, it's
Um,
miserable.
so relatively speaking, your stakes are low, and that's really good. So let's kind of, after having explained the structure of AdWords, let's actually dig into this a little bit, so
Right.
you can kind
Yeah.
of flick and click around in there and see all this in action. So this is the one that has the most data, so it seems,
Yeah.
and is the most successful of the campaigns you have ran, aside from the quick
Yeah.
one, which gives us zero data. So we're going to dig into this. So right now you have one campaign, which is all you need, with one ad group that has 7 keywords. So over in the left sidebar, click the 3 little dots in the gray section. That's going to minimize that. Or I guess it doesn't. Sorry, the arrow further down in the gray. Yeah, click that. that gets that out of the way, cleans this up because we only have that one campaign. This is the only one that matters. So now click add groups. Boom, we have add group 1, click it. Well, first off, let's look here just so you can kind of get a breakdown for this data and what it's telling you. It's saying that cumulatively of all of the keywords in your ad groups, you've gotten 197 clicks, 6,500 impressions, equaling a click-through rate of 3%. For those that don't know, click-through rate is based off how many times your ad is shown, impressions, versus how many people clicked it. That gives a percentage. I know that seems basic, but some people might not get that. So dumbing that down. And then based off how much you spent versus how many people actually clicked. So if I spent $100 and 10 people clicked, that means I'm spending $10 per click. So right now you're spending 50, what is it? Is it still 50 pounds or 0.50 pounds? Like, how do you say that? Like here it's cents. What is it?
Oh, pence, 50 pence.
50 pence. Good to know. If I'm talking to somebody else, I try to keep it in there and their vernacular. So you spent 50 cents per click. I'm saying cents. It's just, it is what it is.
Doesn't matter. We know what I mean. So.
Which is really, really, really good. The reason that's really, really good is why? Or why are you getting such low cost per click right now based off what I've explained?
Presumably because my AdWords aren't phrase match or exact match, and they're just kind of broad, so they're not necessarily looking for me.
Right, they're just cheaper because you're basically saying, I want to target all of these people, and they're like, okay, cool, we can do that for 50 cents. That's really easy. Whereas if you go in here, all right, that's going to be more. So that's why that's happening. So that's why I'd say you have a really good cost per click, but I'd say it's a little bit fake at the moment. What we have found in the States is when I was running like exact match, when I was doing all of those and paying a lot more, I was spending about $6 to $10 per click is how much stuff was costing me.
Yeah.
And then once I structured my campaign into the single keyword ad groups, now I'm down to about $2-ish per click, 2 to 3, and that's pretty average. And after having helped some other people, 2 to 3 is, I think, a pretty solid benchmark for headshot photographers. How that translates to pounds, that I don't know. You'd know that better than I do, potentially.
Yeah, but that seems to be reasonable. I've set my limit at £3.
Gotcha. So let's talk about that as well. Let's go back because I forgot. Back to that auction, that bidding process, and how that works with your campaign. You can say, I'm willing to spend up to $10 per click. And if you're willing to spend more, there's a higher likelihood that your ads are going to show and higher up in the results because you're willing to pay more. Google is going to give you favor. When you set a limit on that, you tell Google you want to stop at that point, obviously. So let's say we get this dialed in more and you are spending $3 per click, right? And you have, let's say, your daily budget, which you do now have set to 15. That means you can get 5 clicks per day before maxing out your budget. And then your ads are going to stop showing. Then you're done.
Yeah.
What I recommend doing is first get the keywords set up in a good structure first. And when you are ready to kick the campaign live, make your budgets higher than you probably feel comfortable with. Make it, 25, 30, even $50 a daily budget, and make that click be 10 to 20, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you sit there for those first 2 days of running it like a hawk. You watch this data, like refresh it as you get click, like you're going to get clicks. Real quick, another thing too, I'm just, as I'm talking, I'm going back in my journey and kind of how I did it. There's another software called Chatra. It's the chat box in the bottom right-hand corner of the website.
Okay.
I started using Chatra before I did AdWords, and it was really nice to have because I was getting people talking to me. It's its own thing. It's another game changer, kind of like Acuity. If you do it right, if you play that game right, it is good. The benefit of that was it gives you real-time visitor information on your website, and it tells you where they came from and what page they're on. So once I kicked my AdWords campaign live, it would ping me. Chatra would say, you got a visitor on your website. I would open up Chatra real quick and look. Oh, they're on my AdWords landing page. It says that specifically because I built that out. I know that this person came from AdWords. So I would go back to AdWords where real quick, I'd click refresh and I'd see, oh, this keyword got another click. I know that the person on my website right now came from that keyword, right? And that's kind of how I played it. And okay, I just spent X amount for that. Like that's how into it I was. And once you get those keywords kind of dialed in where they aren't broad match, your traffic's gonna be lower. You're not gonna have 27 people in the day potentially, or maybe you do, but even 27 isn't that bad. I think you keep up with 27 people on your site in a day. But that's how I was looking at the data as it was happening in real time. And you watch the data like a hawk for those first couple of days. And if you realize you're spending $20 per click, kill that shit, turn it off, lower your budget. But what that does is it gives you an idea of potentially where the ceiling is in your market. If it's charging you $20 per click, that means somebody else in your market is driving that price up and they're also bidding that much and you outbid them at that higher price. Google isn't gonna, they want to make money, but they're not going to be bogus about it. Just because you set your max cost per click to $20, it's not going to charge you $20 for that click. It's still going to get you the reasonable amount within your market. But it's saying if somebody comes in and outbids you, how it's eBay, you know, like when you do that, how much are you willing to go up to? So if you are paying $20 per click, that means somebody else is up there with you, and you can use that data to factor in as well. That's kind of a game there. So that's kind of how I recommend doing it in the beginning. And maybe you do find out that ceiling is like $6 or something, and then you can decide, is $6? Am I okay with spending $6 to get that click right now, to get more data, get people on that website, potentially get the leads? You know, you play that game when you get there, but doing it that way at least gives you some sort of bearings on what's happening.
Absolutely. I'm happy to pay that if they're people that are going to come and, you know, book me. It's fine, isn't it?
Right.
But if I'm paying I'm basically paying £100 here for one person booking me.
Well, right now you're only paying for them to get to that page. They haven't even opted in and they haven't booked.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible that the person who just emailed me just now saying that they want a headshot session is that one person. So cross fingers.
But who knows, right? But still, yeah, that's still good. And that balances out in the long run. If that is the case, you want to know, but if it doesn't, it's still offset your costs and you're still in a good place. But again, that goes back to the funnel and why we set things up the way we do. So that's kind of that data, and that's how this works. At some point when you do get that funnel set up, we'll get you that code on the thank you page or the conversion, so that that conversion rate actually matches or maps to people who filled out your form. And so that your cost per conversion will actually equate to how much you're paying to get an email address.
Yes.
That's what your cost per conversion is actually should be measuring, is how much your email address costs. And then, you know, based off how many people you book versus your ad spend, what your cost to acquire that client actually was.
Yeah.
So click ad group 1 and let's dig into the keywords that are inside of here.
This one here? Yep.
So now here are all the keywords that you have filled out for here. And now it's giving you this data. So at some point, ideally, this only has one keyword with 3 different match types for that ad group. That's the game at some point versus this. But like I said, for now, I think your next step in setting this up is making like 3 separate categories. I think in my mind, I think that makes sense. Do your acting ones, do your corporate ones, and then do your generic and location based keywords.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's kind of run through this and just kind of see what we can gather from the data that we do have. Sort this by, well, you can see right there, Instagram photographer nobody's really searching that. I mean, it is, but it says limited, rarely shown, low quality score, because again, your ad right now is geared towards headshot photography, best headshots in Southeast London, right? So automatically,
I think that this is, a lot of these are kind of suggested. Some of them are personal ones that I got, but a lot of these are suggested ones from Google. So clearly, a lot of them aren't working.
Yeah. So like, kill some of the. So like, sort these by. I guess we'll start with impressions, just because that's interesting. Headshots is probably going to be it. Portrait. So portrait is, again, I would avoid portrait stuff just because of how broad that is and what people think of as portrait.
Yep.
Especially like you get photographers too in there when you start talking about things like portfolio and stuff like that. Even photographer London is very vague. You're not shooting weddings, you're not shooting babies, you're shooting headshots. You don't need that. You don't need it. You be specific. Yep. So unless you want to use that really broad stuff again to farm for keywords like we talked about earlier, you use that, dig into the data, and then see what people searched and okay, is that a potential keyword that I can make its own thing? But for right now, be very specific on headshot. No keyword you should have in your any of your lists should not have the word headshot in it. Fair?
Okay, headshot everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Business photos I can be okay with because that's at least specific to business. You know, maybe you shoot group pictures or something like that. That is still in your realm, so I'll let that one slide. But otherwise, headshot probably should be in there.
Yep.
So it makes total sense that portrait has the most impressions because it's just the broadest of them all. Yep. It doesn't have the most clicks because your ad says headshot, so at least that's specific. So if they're not looking for headshots, they're probably not going to click it. So that makes sense looking at that data. Why the impressions are so high, but the click-through rate is so low is because your ad is specific. So therefore, let's sort by clicks now. We already see business photos is probably.
Yeah.
Photographer London makes sense as well. You know, has high impressions, but again, relatively speaking, low click-through rate because of that. That one you're going to get rid of, and you're going to make headshot photographer London. So that's first step there when cleaning up keywords is get rid of that. Dating photos really ain't doing much for you either, it looks like. So I'd probably kill that. You know, you don't. And when something to note as well is you're like, well, I am still getting some impressions, so why not leave it just in case somebody clicks that? At least in this current structure, and even when you do like your 3 groups like I was talking about, even when you do that, even though the impressions and clicks are low, it's still factoring that data into your quality score for that ad. And so if it's not really what you want, even though it's minimal, you are still getting a ding in the quality score for that ad, and it's lowering that quality score. So that's why you get super granular and specific, is just because that's how you increase the quality score. And so it feels good to have it in there as a just in case thing. You're actually kind of hurting yourself if it's not performing. If it's not performing, kill it. You know, do something else.
Could I, for example, have 4 ad groups, so the 3 that you suggested, and then a 4th that is just very generic that I spend a very small amount of money on, just to kind of run in the background?
Absolutely, yeah. You're getting that. when people hop into this game, it is very overwhelming, but you're already in a better place. I can just tell your understanding of stuff is there.
I'm getting it now, yeah. And actually seeing that this is actually working, like seeing that uptick at the end of here, like makes me happy, because obviously that previous campaign I flatlined, and I was just like, so knowing that actually Google is doing this for me.
It does work, but you can see where most of that is coming from now, just looking at this.
Yeah, it's coming from business photos.
And looking now at headshot is probably your most generic but headshot specific one. That's giving you 379 impressions. And that's for a broad match term headshot. That's about as generic as you can get for what we do.
Yep.
So 379 is not very high. It's not like, so that gives you an idea of potentially what you're looking at market wise for what you're doing. Now we'll get into like your location settings, but location settings is another important part of this game, so that your ads are only showing up where you want them to versus you targeting.
I think I've got the location settings down. Actually, I think I understand that fairly straightforward. But the keywords thing, this is mind blowing information for me now. So this. I'm hoping I'm going to come back in 2 weeks' time and I can message you and say it fucking worked.
but just based off that impression, 379 makes me feel kind of just as to potentially curb your expectations that when you do start getting down into these specific ones, you might not be getting the impressions you are right now, just because of that. So I think keeping headshot or headshots as a broad term is not a bad move right now, because that's your farming keyword, because it is so general. That's going to give you an idea of what actually is getting impressions and what to search. So
Mike, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
That 379, presumably that from here, from the 7th of March to here, the 8th of June, or is it from here to here where I started the campaign?
When you started the campaign.
So that 379 is actually only the last week.
So that's actually not bad then. That's good.
That could be quite good, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for. Yeah, I didn't even think of that for pointing that out. I just relatively speaking of the data that's presented in front of us. But yes, absolutely good catch. That's only a few days or a week or whatever. That's good. That scales potentially.
Yeah. If almost 400 people are searching for headshots per week, then that could be a decent market.
Absolutely.
It's London after all. It's London.
Yeah, no, and there are tons of we know people in the crew that are killing it, right? So it's there. It's 100% there. Yep. Kind of digging through the rest of these really quickly. Just I'm talking you through what I'm seeing as I'm looking at it, just so you get an idea of what data to look for and how to interpret it. Portrait photography, lighting. Again, I know you said some of these were suggested. I imagine that was suggested. I hope you have enough sense that you didn't type that yourself.
I didn't type that
okay,
myself.
Good. But yeah, that's targeting photographers. That's not the people you want. Kill that one. Yeah. Good headshots is okay. LinkedIn photographer makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, at least that's in the realm. It doesn't have headshots, but maybe you make LinkedIn headshot photographer or LinkedIn headshots are some other keywords that maybe you target, and you put those in that corporate group, right?
Yeah.
And again, sample size is really important with this stuff, having data. Like right now, this is limited, but we've only been running it for a week. You do got to let it run for like a month. I think a month is a solid amount to gather data and just not touch anything. And then you come back and decide, okay, LinkedIn headshot photographer really isn't giving me anything. I'm going to kill that.
Yeah.
I think a month of data is pretty solid in that respect. So that's kind of how that game works. Some people right now, just based off this data, would completely kill stuff, and that's just not enough.
I've got like some really good tasks to do over this next week.
Yeah, you do.
And I really understand all of them. Like, going into this to begin with, I was very, very lost. But now I'm like, okay, right, I'm really understanding it.
Good.
If I have those very, very specific ad groups, and then in a month's time, I can look back and be like, yeah, I get it. I get what's working, what's not working. So yeah,
Awesome.
I'm really getting it. I'm really understanding it.
I'm not even really going to dig too much more into this because I think you do get it.
Yeah.
I think Peter Hurley is interesting on there.
Yeah, I saw somebody saying that you put your kind of like so-called competition, or what people, I mean, obviously not Peter's not competition anyway whatsoever, but like I just thought I'd give it a go and see whether people were searching for Peter Hurley or not.
I think it's interesting. You're futzing, and I think that's cool. I don't think he'd be happy to know that he's only got 3 impressions. But that's London, you know. If you are targeting London, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So
Okay.
let's go one step further into here now, and let's click portrait because that's the most well-performing one. That's the one we have the most data on.
Yeah.
Just actually click it, portrait.
I'm not getting. It's not. Maybe that.
Right. So there's not really anything to go in more from here. So let's real quick, while we're in this level. So right now you're in one ad group, and these are all the keywords in that ad group. Right now it's just generically called ad group 1.
Yep.
You're going to want to go back and rename that acting headshots, corporate headshots, maybe generic keywords, location ones. Name that ad group specifically so that you can keep track of your shit, because this can be a lot of data pretty quickly. Once you do start doing single keywords and stuff, you get down to that level, it's a lot. Yep. So you really want to have your naming conventions and everything really be solid. Click the blue plus button to add another keyword. All right, so you're gonna you can start typing something in and it will start populating suggested keywords to the right of it. So let's just start with headshots for the heck of it. And so, yeah, that gives you Annie Leibovitz, okay, photographers, portraits, still pretty vague. Maybe do acting headshots. I'm just curious what that suggests. Not really much of anything. Or maybe it's not based off there. It's based off enter your product or service. That's what you type, and that's how it does a keyword research. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay, that's how it works. Okay, so yeah, that gives you a couple more, and now maybe this is the game you play. These are already significantly better than anything you had before.
Yes.
And these go in your acting. Maybe, yeah, all of these are actually pretty solid. Acting photographer, maybe not, you know, but worth trying. Stack out that ad group at least with these, and again, come back in a week ish, check in, see where things are. Maybe you kill some right off the bat if the impressions are low. If you don't have anything within a week, you know, if it's less than like 10 or something like that, kill it, and then come back in a month and do a little bit more shaving off. But this is already giving you amazing suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
this is, yeah, I like this.
Underneath it says match types control which searches trigger your ads. Wait, go back.
Oh, did I do something wrong?
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Keyword equals broad match. Keyword in quotes equals phrase match, and keyword in hard brackets equals exact match. That's how you structure them. That's how you type them in here. So over to the left, when you start typing them in, if you just type the keyword like you did, acting headshots, do it again. No, to the left and the actual what you're at. So to the right is your keyword search tool. That's going to give you stuff. And if you click the plus button, it automatically adds it over there. Give that a go. Boom. All right. But so both of those now, acting headshot, portraits, paint your life, those are all broad match right now in their current form. If you want it phrase match, you have to put quotes around it. And do it. Yeah, so those are like, yeah, hard brackets, got to be like that. So now paint your life is exact match. They have to type paint your life in order to trigger that keyword in this ad within that group. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Boom. So again, maybe you do like I did and you make all of them exact match at first.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. Yeah.
Maybe not. I kind of try to explain the downsides of that potentially. You're going to pay more. You're going to have less impressions because it is so specific. So unless somebody is typing those things specifically, it's not going to show.
But then I have my generic ad where I'm not paying a huge amount of money, which will then maybe get more sort of broader ones.
Yep. So you get some data there. Yep. Exactly. So you the man. You get it.
I'm getting it. Yeah.
But I wanted to walk you through that so you understand tactically how you have to do that in order to differentiate them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do add an exact match one for acting headshots right now, and because it's going to show up different in this list as well. Now you're just searching right now. You got to actually.
Oh, sorry. Shall I just save that? Yeah.
Boom.
Here we go,
now
yeah.
You can see it, and it says exact match now. So you can actually do that too. You can click that drop down and change it that way.
Yeah, I can just change it to different things, can't I?
So that's a super easy way to do it.
Yeah, what I can do is after we finish, I can just turn this one into the acting one. Then I can set up 3 more ad groups and just do them business and generic and stuff. So yeah.
Click the green dot on any one of these. Is there, yeah, remove. Okay, there's a remove option. I was going to say, I didn't know if you could only pause them, but it still left it in there if you could actually remove it. So yeah, remove all the ones that suck, change your match types and stuff, like do all that. I think you get that now, but you can see how it displays differently in this data, now. But so at some point, when you do get to those single keyword ad groups, you're going to so like example was like child headshots or kid actor headshots, I think is what it suggested, something like that, child actor headshots. At some point, you want an ad group specifically for child actor headshots. And when you click that ad group, you're going to come in here and you're going to have 3 keywords of the 3 different match types for child actor headshots.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Yeah.
And then,
that makes sense.
And then again, one of those is going to perform well at some point. So we've done that. I think you have a good handle on keywords now from what I can tell. The next level into this is ads. So go over to the left, ads and extensions, and you click ads. Now, if you look up at the top where it says Google Ads, you can see your breadcrumbs. It says all campaigns, website search or website traffic search 5, ad group 1. This is the ad within ad group 1. Now you're going to go back and change ad group 1 to say acting headshots or whatever. But so this is so you know where you're at within your campaign. You are in ad group 1. This is the ad attached to ad group 1.
Yep.
And again, you're splitting those up into acting, corporate, generic, right? Or whatever. And then do 3 ads for each one of those. And at some point, one of those 3 is going to perform better. And so then when you're checking back into your month, you're going to kill the other 2, and maybe you make 2 new ones, try something else to A/B test, and you run those for another month, and one of those is going to perform well. Maybe it's the same one, maybe it's not, but maybe it flip-flops and you get a better one. And that's how you do it. That's how you revise. But to increase your relevance, or sorry, your quality score for your actual ads themselves, you want the keyword in the headline of that ad. So if it's acting headshots, ideally you have the word acting and headshots somewhere in that headline.
Yep.
Again, we know for Google themselves that is a signal, but also for people searching, they're going to see acting headshots and be more likely to click it than just headshot photographer.
Yep.
You want acting and headshot within the description portion. And then you have the ability there as well to do a URL extension there. Right now it says Tom/headshots. You want that URL extension to be acting headshots as well. It's not your actual domain. It's just the display URL that the ad shows. but it's another signal for Google. And it also looks like, oh, it's this website / acting headshots. I'm being taken to a page specifically about acting headshots. You know, again, it increases that click through. So kind of like we just did for the keywords, looking at this data, this is the only ad you have showing. Pretty much. So this is where you're getting all your data. You can see that again, at some point, one of them will perform better. Let's actually make a new ad and walk through that process. So there, yeah. So you have two forward slashes there for that URL. So I would make the first one acting and the second one headshots. And the way that will display is acting - headshots.
Yep.
Boom. Or actually does, yeah, it does acting / headshots. So maybe actually you just do acting - headshots in the first one and leave that second one blank. You know, that's probably how I would do it. But you have that. You have that ability. Maybe when you get super granular as well for like corporate stuff, maybe you do Tom / corporate / LinkedIn headshots or / dating photos or something like that. You play that game as well. But that's that. And then play with your headlines and stuff there. I suggest having starting with whatever the main keyword is. So I would do acting headshots. Yep.
Yep.
Second one could be play with these. I think having location is nice. London headshot photographer, maybe something like that, or London headshots, just something like that. I think is good. And then the last one I think should be your business name. You don't have to, but I think it's at that point where it does say your name and your URL, but I think, yeah, photography. So that this way you start getting some brand recognition. People see that ad, they read that name. It feels more like a company, like, oh, okay, it's this photography company. And then maybe they see you in the organic results later. Okay, I'm seeing this guy's name more often. He must be good, you know? He's all over Google. People don't know how Google works.
Yeah.
And like when I asked them, like, how'd you find me? They're like, oh, you popped up right away on Google. I'm like, I know I'm ranking at the bottom of page 1 organically for Google, but my ads show high, but people don't get that. They don't understand, right? So exactly how you have that right now, I think is pretty solid. You want your main one to be the keyword. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
on the preview, it seems to keep swapping things around for some reason. So
I'm seeing that as well. And what I think will happen is Google A/B tests stuff on your behalf.
Sure.
And what you're doing right here is you're giving it 3 to 7 or however many it's offering you there headlines to choose from. So just like the ads, you give them 3 ads to rotate between and test. You're giving them 7 headlines to rotate and test.
I see.
So sometimes it'll show an ad with these, and sometimes it'll show an ad for that. And at some point, it's going to start favoring one of them. Yeah. So I think keep it minimal, keep it 3, because it's going to truncate eventually where it's just not going to be able, there's not enough characters to display more than that anyway. And don't give them the option of what to show. So I think I would leave it pretty much just like that. And then same thing with your headlines. Instead of doing like you have now, dynamic acting headshots as one standout from the crowd, you have 90 characters to work with within each one of those. Put all of that in the one so that it's not rotating between them. It's definitely going to show that every time that ad displays. And so maybe you even do the same thing for the headline. Maybe you do acting headshots and you manually put the pipe in there and do London headshot photographer. If that's within 30 characters, maybe you keep that in that one, and then it will definitely show like that every time. Does that make sense? So it gets so you might have to get tricky, but that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Something to play around with, but now you understand how that works and how those are going to rotate.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do add URL options. No. Okay, where does it? Where does it show where you take them? Scroll back up.
That's the final URL they go to.
Ah,
so
yeah. Okay, so the display one is that. Yeah. So at some point, you're going to want that to be that ads landing page. And you know what, dude?
Specific.
Do it now. Do it now. I know you said that's next step. Duplicate what you have right now immediately. Like if you're gonna play ad games, do it. Like even though you don't have the scheduler, even though your call to actions are screwed up, all of it. So again, I love this. This is a fantastic exercise. I really hope this records nicely for people because you guys are getting so much freaking information here.
There's so much information.
Going back into my journey, I remember that as well, is that because my ads were showing to more people than I was ranking organically at the time, I actually used my ads funnel to dial in my actual website. I was getting more data faster and in real time, basically. And then I would make tweaks on my ad landing page to get that conversion rate clicking. Okay, now I have a 50% conversion from the landing page to the opt-in page. I would do whatever those tweaks were, and then I would go back to my real homepage and make those same tweaks over there. So I was getting data to then make my website better. So that's the game. That's how I played it, and I think you should do the same.
Nice.
So yeah, duplicate that shit and then make the ad URL. The naming convention that I use, and again, naming conventions are important when it comes to this. Some people would do like ad one or something like that, like the way I have it is because I once, man, this has been a long journey. I can't believe how much I've actually done thinking back on it now.
It's amazing.
Once I got this AdWords dialed in, I was like, okay, what about Bing? Some people do use Bing, like you don't think they do, but they do. So I duplicated this AdWords campaign on Bing, but in order to do that, I had to make a new funnel for Bing keywords, or for Bing's a Bing funnel. So I had to have a different naming convention so that I knew people who were coming from Bing versus AdWords. So the URL that I use for the actual website pages is MikeSansoniPhotography.com/AdWords-home.
Mm-hmm.
AdWords-home, that's your landing page. Then AdWords-pricing is the opt-in page. AdWords-thanks is the thank you page. Those are the names, and it's the same. It was the same for Bing, Bing home, Bing pricing, Bing thanks, right?
Mm.
Then if you want to get into the Facebook ads game at some point, Facebook home, Facebook pricing, Facebook thanks, right? Keeps it consistent. And then also when you go into your actual Google Analytics, then those URLs, like it's just all clean. So
yeah.
All right, that does that. The only other thing I think I want to show you right now is, so click out of here. You know how to add a new ad and everything and how those rotate. Actually, there's a couple more things I think we need to talk about.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so you know how that's structured. Go back to, so over there, we know we're in ad group 1 right now. Go to keywords.
Yep.
Search terms. Yeah, click search terms. And now this is what people are actually typing in.
Yes.
Look at these. Photos, people are stupid. Photos, pictures. Black and white portraits, female. Change image to portrait. Like, look at this stuff. This is what you're getting your clicks on.
Sure.
Does
photography.
Does this make sense now?
Cake smash. Yeah, right? Like, I don't need someone who wants a cake smash.
This is it, man. So like, you're like, fuck yeah, this campaign's actually working. No, it's not, right?
No, so
you got it now. So this is where you're going to spend a lot of time as well, as coming in here. into the search terms. And remember, it's based off your ad group. So when you know you're in ad group 1 keywords, search terms. So these
Yeah.
are all the search terms that triggered your ad group 1 ad to show.
Yeah.
And now the game here is, and you can see it shows broad match, phrase match, right? You know which one is actually doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Game here is added and excluded, that third column. Everything that sucks, you got to click excluded, and that's going to make it so it doesn't show anymore.
Yeah.
So yep.
That is negative keyword.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boom, and it's going to change it. Save. There it is. It's excluded. But now, so that's excluding the phrase match of headshots, little TJ clean, which I really want to Google now because
Yeah,
I need to know who little TJ clean is and what he has to do with headshots.
I think he's probably a rapper, and that's probably a track name, right?
I would maybe he's just pop some caps on people. Little TJ clean. Who knows? Maybe he's in a gang and he's just searching his street cred on Google. I don't know. Yeah, he's got there. Little TJ headshot. That's interesting. That's got 25 impressions. Fuck.
That must be the name of a track, because clean is like the clean version without the swearing in it.
Oh, good call. Good call. Yeah, super interesting stuff to find out here. But this is how you find out where, okay, oh, people are typing this more specifically. I'm going to break this off into that keyword or into its own ad group, right? This is where you find all that out. And so again, you're only excluding the phrase match. So do you want to exclude the broad match? Do you want to exclude the exact match? That's something to keep in mind as well when you're going in and cleaning this up.
Yeah.
But the way you've been talking is it sounds like you're going to make a cheaper ad group for your farming, and then keep exact and maybe phrase. I would do exact and phrase match in your other groups. I think those are pretty safe because of the keywords you're actually going to be using.
Yeah.
Still go into those and see the search terms and exclude stuff that isn't right, but you're going to use that generic one for your main farming. But this is where you look for that stuff. If you want to go, auction insights is super interesting. This is all fascinating data to have.
Not enough.
Okay, so audiences is also interesting. Audiences and demographics. Nothing really in there. Demographics should have something, I believe. Yeah. So now this breaks into different stuff here. And this is based off the information they have of people on there. So people who are logged into their Gmail account, while they're searching the web, you get that data. Is it always going to be accurate? No, some people don't have that, but this is still interesting information nonetheless. Maybe you realize, unknown is a great portion of it, it looks like. But, maybe you find out that you're hitting a specific demographic more. So maybe you decide to go in and increase your cost per click that you're willing to bid on those because they are converting better at some point. You could, gender is interesting. Maybe you want to get even that specific with your keyword groups, where you make an ad group for female headshots or best women, and get that specific. And then you have that data. You can get as specific as you want with this. And that's what's so cool about it. You can damn near target people to the T almost.
Absolutely. And presumably you use different parts of your website as well. You could, you've got your duplicate page, which is the get pricing. But actually, if you've got an actor that's in, a specific kind of, you can send them to a portfolio page that is designed specifically for kind of acting type headshots.
Yep. And I played that game. I have played that game. Yeah, man, I've done it. I've tried all the different things. It was okay because I thought that myself. Be specific, speak to the acting problems. At the end of the day, they just want to see good pictures and what it costs. So I did do that for a while, and it didn't hurt me, I don't think, but it just became a lot to deal with, a lot of pages to juggle. And then if I did it on Bing, then I'd have to make an Actors Bing landing page and Actors Corporate for Bing. Like, and each of them needs the 3 pages. You got your landing page, the opt-in page, and the thank you page. And God, that doesn't scale very nicely when it comes to your actual website. So I just had too many web pages that I was fucking with, and I decided that wasn't the game I wanted to play anymore. And so I just stuck with the generic one. And I think you'll be okay with that as well. But yeah, absolutely. If you want to do that, go for it. Like, that is a game you can play. I'm just telling you, after having done it, I think the benefits that are there's a diminishing returns at some point where it's not really helping you as much as the work it's causing.
Yeah, makes sense.
The last thing there is devices, I think, is interesting too. Same thing. Mobile computers. If you realize, okay, yeah, mobile phones, that's super fascinating, man. This is interesting. People are clicking your ads and looking at them on their phone. So maybe you increase the budget on that, and you target mobile phones more. You know, maybe you make those their own groups. All of this data is here, and it's so fascinating. And I didn't give a shit about any of it until I started running AdWords and I had my money on the line. Then I wanted to know where my money was actually being spent. And that's when I really started getting excited about this stuff. And like, it became fun to me to like figure this out. And okay, how can I make this cheaper and better? And man, now I've been in love with data since then. And I think that's why I'm into crypto and trading stuff right now, because it's just charts and data.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was wondering.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. It was because you were talking about being into crypto, and when you shared your screen, there was like a little counter at the top of your screen that was probably your crypto.
Yeah, it's
the
fascinating.
value of your crypto.
Yeah,
I just bought some Bitcoin the other day, actually.
Amazing. Yeah, dude, it's the future, and I think it's the same thing. It was what I did with this. I realized I was interested. Crypto's been on my radar for a little bit, but I haven't super dug into it. Obviously, this year has been, I think I got like really into it at the beginning of this year, a little bit before like that. I think it was around the very start of the AMC stock stuff. I was already interested in stocks. Like, I felt like, okay, I'm making more money as a photographer. Maybe this is something I should learn about investing and stuff. So I initially was thinking about stocks. All the AMC stuff was happening. I thought that was interesting. And then I remembered crypto again. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then started doing some research on it. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be something significant in our future. And I didn't want it to be like AdWords was, where it was on my radar and it took me 5 years before I pulled the trigger and actually made something happen about it and started learning about it. Because that's what it was with AdWords, is it was on my radar. I just wanted somebody to tell me that it was the right move before I did it versus just trying it. And so that's where I am with the cryptos. I'm just trying it and trying to figure out the game. And I'm so far happy with that decision. So
yeah, absolutely good.
Let's go back to, so you're in ad group 1, go back to like the campaign level. You're still within, so this is data for this ad group. You're still in ad group 1. You can actually click back to campaign there. And so now these are your campaign settings. So placements, locations, go to locations on the left, sorry. Or you can, I'd try to keep everything in that menu. It's near the bottom there, yeah. So that's where you're targeting currently. Maybe you decide to expand that a little bit. And in this data gathering phase, remember, kind of like we talked about budgets, going wider than you think you should. Go a little bit wider than you think you should here. You know UK better than I do as far as distances go. I'm not just targeting Chicago. I'm targeting into Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, even into Ohio, like a little bit. I know I'm willing to travel out to those places if they're willing to pay me.
Sure. Yeah.
And people will travel to you further than you think they will. I remember I was helping Cindy in Phoenix and set up her ad campaign, and she was very focused on Phoenix. Like, I'm not going to target these other cities. Like Phoenix is where my people are. And she's like, people aren't going to drive 2 hours to come shoot with me. Like, I don't want to spend my money on ads targeting those people. And then she started doing it, and she's like, oh shit, people are coming to me now because she's good and she was the best solution. It happens. People will drive for you. So, and I think in this instance too, just purely for sake of widening that sample size to gather keywords and knowing which ones are valuable, the wider you go in the beginning at first is going to give you more of that data, and then you can start chiseling off the fat, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I could very easily sort of add
Like
this kind of
wherever that highway circle is. Yeah.
because I'm based, if we zoomed in, I'm based here where my cursor is. So adding in that amount there, and then maybe even like Brighton and Crawley, people in Brighton might be like, I want a London headshot photographer to take my photograph. Someone in Bracknell or Reading might be like, I want to go to London for my headshot.
And it's the same thing here. We have the suburbs, and there are photographers in those areas that might even be running ads, but they're targeting those specific places. And you're in the city potentially, so like you seem more legit, and they're gonna come to you because of that. Like that's why people come here. They found photographers down in the burbs, but they shoot families too, and you only shot headshots, so like I trusted you more because you knew what I needed and wanted. That's
absolutely. If you're spending £500 to £1,000 for a session, then you're willing to travel for a couple of hours to get the right photographer, aren't you?
absolutely. And yeah, man. So I think that's pretty much everything.
Man, that's been absolutely fantastic. That's 2.5 hours almost of awesome content.
I really, really hope this recording plays nice and that it shows the screen, because I'm going to repurpose this. This is going to be something fantastic, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, please do. I want you to use this as much as you possibly can. And it's good because like I can watch it back, right? And there's always going to be bits that I'm like, oh, what are you saying at that point? And I can watch it back, and hopefully there's going to be other photographers. There's like 15,000 people in the headshot crew who'll probably want these questions answered.
So I have a feeling I'm going to put it out there from generosity, but I at some point maybe I block it off and it becomes a slight purchase fee to get the mini master class on AdWords, because people have been asking me to definitely help them set up their stuff. And me and my buddy Mike Schacht were talking, and he was like, you should charge to set AdWords up for people. And I did do it for like one person, and after having done it, I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that again. Like even for a lot, and I'd have to charge a lot to like make me want to do it.
Yeah,
not the game I want to play. So I have a feeling I know I'm one of the few people who knows a decent amount about AdWords. And so I know I can help people. So I just want to figure out something to do that. But yeah, man, like I said, I don't think there's really anything else. You got the structure, you got the keywords, ad groups.
I'm really on it now. I'm really excited by it, actually. The same way.
One last thing, go back to ads and extensions. Viewed extensions. All right, and so are these ones that are running right now, or?
Yeah, this looks like I've not set it up clearly.
Or something. Interesting. I didn't know you could do images now. I haven't dug. I've had this shit running on autopilot for years, so I have not gone back in. So that's another thing to talk about too. Because I've been there, done that, and I want people to learn from that. Outsourcing this stuff, I've done it a handful of times. I've worked with a few different companies, and most of them were trash. One of them was good. And the way I figured that out was running it myself. Once I ran it myself, I did the AdWords Express thing, the quick campaign, Then I did this with the exact match. Then I learned about the single keyword ad groups and started setting that up on my own. And I'm like, fuck, this is hard. Can I get somebody to do that for me? I at least had that much knowledge so that when I was looking for someone to outsource to, I would grill them. Like people, I'd have people reach out to me. I'd entertain those phone calls and have a half-hour chat with them and see what they were offering, what their service was. And I'd grill them. I had enough knowledge of AdWords, more than most people had, I think, that they're used to talking to. I knew about the single keyword ad groups, how stuff was bid and everything. And I knew within pretty quickly of talking to a company whether or not they were going to set my campaign up at an advanced level or at a generic level. Generic level gives people high impressions and clicks that they love to see, that makes them feel good that they're spending their money, but they really have no idea how they're spending their money. And meanwhile, you're paying this ad company hundreds of dollars per month to run your campaign that's not actually helping you, right? So I vetted the companies pretty quickly, and the one guy I talked to, he knew his shit. He knew the keywords. He actually knew more than me. I learned from him. And so I ended up going with that company, and there was a setup fee. I want to say the setup fee was 300-ish, and then I paid them 500 per month on top of my ad spend. At one point, I was spending like $3,000 per month on AdWords, I think.
What was your income? What was your turnover from your business at that point?
10.
Okay, so it was worth it.
Absolutely. And that was the shocking part for people to say, like, I'm spending $3,000 a month on AdWords. People are like, you fucking crazy? But no, it was worth it until it wasn't worth it. And I know that it wasn't worth it now, because at some point, again, having the knowledge I have, I would go into the campaigns and stuff and realize they weren't making changes anymore. So if you go to, if you go back to overview, maybe for that campaign, change history down there to the bottom left.
Change history, yeah.
It logs every single thing you do.
Right, yeah.
Oh, you updated that negative keyword. You added that city. You made this ad. You did all that. And at some point, I dug in here and I realized they hadn't updated or touched or refined my campaign in over 5 months that I had been paying them. And I
£500.
And I called them out because my results were good. So I was like, fuck it. Why do I care about paying them? They're doing what I need them to do. Until I realized, oh, they're not. They haven't done shit for me since then. They're not excluding keywords anymore. They're not looking for new ones. They're not expanding my campaign. They're just letting it run. And so I fired them, and I had to negotiate a little bit to get control of my account. So if you do, not you specifically, but talking generally to people, if you do end up deciding to go an outsourcing route for any of this, negotiate up front that maybe you're locked in for a certain amount of time, maybe 3 months or something like that with them. But after that time, you're able to cancel. And when you when you do cancel, you get control of your AdWords account after that. Because a lot of SEO companies and even pay-per-click companies, they run things on their back end. They have their own system set up that's nice that their campaign managers run. One campaign manager might be running AdWords campaigns for 5 different companies, 10 different companies, and they're just mass making changes to shit. And when you stop paying them, they just turn off your ad account on their server, and then you don't have anything, and then you're back at square one. So if you do outsource, negotiate that into the terms that you are able to keep control of yours. I had to fight with them a little bit for that because they weren't going to. And I said, no, I have back in this email when we first set this up that was agreed upon, that you said that would be the case. And I ended up having to talk to one of the higher manager people to make that happen. But I did get control of my account, and they no longer have access to it. So something to keep in mind there. But that was roughly the how it was structured. There was a setup fee and then about $500 per month for them to manage it on top of the ad spend. And I think a lot of companies, the structure is if your ad spend is more, so like maybe your ad spend is $2,000 per month, then that per monthly fee might be a little bit higher. They're managing more money, so they want to make more of it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, but anyway, point of that being was ads and extensions. I jumped around there on you. I'm sorry. Ads and extensions are, so click the plus button to add a new one. So these are all the different ones you can use. Now I'm going to share my screen really quickly.
Yeah.
It's going to stop yours. But I'm going to try to get mine to trigger. Chicago. Let's see if I'm showing up right now. Yeah, so I'm not even up here right now. My bidding is low and stuff. I'm letting these other people spend their money. I might be at the bottom maybe. Oh, that was just maps. So location ad extension, which I think it did have there. What that is going to do is mainly on mobile, not so much here. It will make an ad show right up top of the map section here, as opposed to being here. So this is your main ad point. Your main placement is these first 3 spots. After your first 3, that's when you get into the local map pack. Then you get into frequently asked questions, and then you get the organic search results. So you can see why, man, having a presence in the map section, having ads is important. Absolutely. Before you even get to your organic ranking. Yeah. And then you can see these FAQs are thrown in here now too. Google is a website just like anything else. Google is not the internet, and Google makes more the more time people spend on Google. So their game is to give people all the information they can on Google without ever having to go to another website. Yep. That's why they do these things, like make this map section. That's why you have Google My Business. That's why they're giving you these things or articles when you ask a question. Instead of just linking to this person's website, answering this question, they're going to pull a snippet from it so that, oh, I can read this really quickly. I got the information I need. I leave. I never even had to visit that person's website. I got it all on Google. That's how they work. So you have to play into that game. And so this is when I talked about the blog posts earlier. See this question, how much do headshots cost Chicago? I should make a blog post about that. And then ideally my website comes up right here. I should make a blog post about all of these. Like, and so that they see my name in the ads, they see my name in the maps, they see my website in the questions, they see it down here. Maybe I have pictures popping up here in the map or in the image search. Like, that's the Google game. That's how this works. So I am actually showing up down here. I'm at the bottom. I'm not bidding super high anymore like I used to. I'm gonna let other people blow their money on it. And what ends up happening is if they do set a budget, so like we talked about earlier, if people set a daily ad budget of $20 and they're paying $10 for a click or whatever it is, they get their clicks and they're done for the day. Okay, well now my ad's gonna start showing and I'm cheaper and I'm not spending as much, but I'm still showing up top, you know? Yep. Or again, maybe my quality score is better. Things vary. It's all interesting. Point being of this is the extensions. So if you look here, I typed in Headshot Chicago, right? That triggered specifically my Headshot Chicago ad group, which has a very specific ad for Headshot Chicago. You can see all the things we talked about. The URL extension is Chicago Headshots. I have it in that display URL. I have Headshot Chicago as the main keyword. I have Chicago and headshots, Chicago's best headshots. That's within the description, right? This triggered this specifically because of that setup I have. Whereas other people are this, like, look at this, free mini session, pay by the pick. Chicago boudoir photographer. This person has no idea what the fuck they're doing. Hummingbird Studios, Chicago headshot photographer. Okay, but still pretty generic. Headshots that don't suck. Like, it's so fascinating to look at the games other people are playing. But these around that ad, these are what we explained. You have the description. That's what you can edit within the ad builder. And then all this other shit are extensions.
Sure.
So these are call outs, I believe is what they're referred to in there. And you can choose those words. Like, so just like you did your headlines, you can make like 7 of them and it'll rotate between them. You can choose like 7 call outs. So affordable, easy, professional, fun. And it's going to rotate between those. And eventually it'll start displaying one of those more than the other based on that search term. Yeah. These are site link extensions. And so it's interesting, actually. These are self-populated. Google has made these services available, watch video, staff headshots. I actually don't want those displaying because those are outside of my ad funnel. But at this point, I don't much care. I'm getting organic traffic and ads traffic that I'm less concerned as I was about the data because I know my campaign is pretty dialed in at this point.
Yeah.
This is a location extension, so it shows the map there. And I can also show up in the map pack as an ad up here sometimes.
I think the map one's the best one, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
People just like, where is it? I want to know where it is. Boom.
It's totally worth paying extra for that. And maybe you do make that a separate thing itself so that, you know, you do that. Other examples, these are the site links as well. So you have a headline and the ability to populate descriptions for those too. So I think I made mine like request pricing, acting headshots, corporate headshots, you know, something like that. But they all linked to the same landing page. It's just it took up more real estate by having those extensions. So you can see how much this first ad spot takes up of this whole screen here. I get
on a mobile phone, it'll be everything.
It does, and that's exactly what was going to be my next point. On the mobile phone, that entire first page of the phone is that first person's ad. So there is benefit to paying more to get that first spot and have all the stuff.
Sure.
That is a play. At some point, though, you know, ideally your quality score and stuff is overtaking that, so you don't have to pay more. But you get the point. So that's why this stuff is important. So go in, fill out all of those extensions. There's no reason to not. It's not always going to show all of them. It's going to pick and choose. You can see the phone number is pretty consistent. Hummingbird sucks. They didn't put in an extension for theirs. They didn't put, or maybe they did, but it's just not showing, you know? But I have a feeling they aren't doing it because of how consistent all of the others have had them. So my guess is they just aren't. But yeah, man, fill out all of those because when your ad does show up at the top, you're going to eat up that screen real estate, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Really
and now that is definitely the last thing I have to tell you. So,
Mike, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Cool, man. No problem.
I feel like there's just downloaded information into my brain. It's brilliant.
I'm around for you, dude. If you have any questions, I imagine you will. Hit me up.
That'd be amazing.
But otherwise, I'm done cramming you with stuff. I think you got everything you need. It's recorded.
When we can all travel again, and there's like a New York headshot intensive, I'll buy you a beer.
I love it.
I'll get you drunk one night. Don't worry about that. I'll get you wasted.
Best payment ever.
Exactly. Are you going to be on the crewcast this evening or this afternoon for you?
We'll see where life is at the moment. I have a lot of retouching, so I might throw it on in the background. We'll see. I've been kind of sparse in the crew, so I need to get back in there and make myself known a little bit more again. But yeah, you got any questions for me while we're still here?
I think you covered pretty much everything. It's been an hour and 40 minutes. 2 hours and 40 minutes?
11, 12, 1. Yeah, 2:40. Sorry, man. I'm
amazed. I'm amazed. It's brilliant. If there's anything that I can do, something else, I don't know what I could do. But
yeah, you know, at some point when you are killing it, you get things dialed in. Buy my email templates. I'll take that.
There we go. Exactly.
That'll take your stuff to the next level, so you're following up with your leads and stuff. But yeah, man.
Yeah, no, that would be really good. Definitely do that.
Killer. All right, I'm gonna end this and have a fantastic night. Is it night there right now? What time is it?
It is now 20 to 8.
8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna order some food immediately.
Get it, man. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you very much, Mike. Have a great day.
See you, man.
I'll catch up with you soon.